Welcome to In Depth with Academia. I'm Richard Price, CEO of Academia EDU, and I'm, well, honestly, very excited to dig into today's topic. So, thanks for tuning in and making some space in your day to explore academic perspectives with me. Remember, we keep things neutral here. I'm not pushing an agenda, just presenting these fascinating ideas so you can reflect, question, and decide what speaks to you. Today, we're diving into a really unique paper by Boris Orekhov. Yeah, that's the author, Boris Orekhov, called Individual Semantics of LN Tolstoy in the context of vector models. And let me tell you, this is such an interesting intersection of literature, technology, and data science. Even if you think digital linguistics isn't your thing, I guarantee there's something here to get your mind working. So let's break down the core question of this paper. What is Orekhov trying to figure out? It's something like, how can we use modern digital vector models to actually capture the unique personal semantics of Leo Tolstoy's writing? That's a tall order. Why would anyone care? Well, Tolstoy isn't just any author, right? He's one of the giants of world literature. And the way he uses language, his idia style, shapes how millions of readers see love, war, fields, you name it. If we can understand what's really individual about his semantic style, we can get closer to how authors create meaning and why classic texts resonate so powerfully. Here's where things get cool and a bit technical, so bear with me. Orekhov asks, what if instead of just reading Tolstoy and saying, that's poetic, we analyze all his texts, millions of words, and use computers, machine learning, specifically vector space models, to see how words relate inside Tolstoy's universe? We're talking about building a kind of digital map of his language. The point is to make the invisible, those subtle shifts in meaning, visible. How does Orekhov do this? He builds what are called vector semantic models, using Python's GenSim library. Basically, every word in Tolstoy's texts becomes a vector, a point in a big, crazy mathematical space based on which other words it's used with. Then, he compares Tolstoy's word universe to another model trained on the whole Russian language, including contemporary texts. Here's a fun digression. Ever notice how sometimes your word choice sounds a little old-fashioned or just wildly out of place? I know I do. I mean, I said digression. Maybe if you mapped my word usage, it would cluster around, I don't know, British sitcom transcripts from the 1970s or something. Okay, anyway, back to Tolstoy. Orekhov zooms in on two words in particular, love and field. Why would those matter? Because for Tolstoy, love isn't just love and field. Well, you might think of battlefields because of war and peace, but Orekhov looks deeper. He finds that in Tolstoy, love is about a real battle of true versus false. For most Russian speakers, words like adore and idolize are basically synonyms for love. In Tolstoy's writings, though, those aren't remotely the same. Adore is tagged as fleeting or insincere, while love is deep, enduring, true, kind of wild actually, that his sense of love is so unique it registers differently in a mathematical model. For field, there's another surprise. You'd expect field in Tolstoy to mean battlefield because of his war scenes, but the vector model clusters field with like ploughing, meadow, forest, all these farming and landscape words. So Tolstoy's field is mostly about the land, nature, not war. That challenges a whole bunch of surface-level interpretations and, importantly, Orekhov doesn't stop at just identifying Tolstoy's uniqueness. He also looks for words where Tolstoy's usage is super typical, matching the general Russian language. For example, the word socialist, cool twist here, turns out to basically mean the same thing for Tolstoy as it does for everyone else. Why? Because it just appears in those standard lists or enumerations. So sometimes authors are innovators, sometimes they're just participants in language trends. Okay, so why does any of this matter to you? A listener maybe not obsessed with Russian literature. Well, the upshot is, language isn't fixed. Words aren't just containers for meaning, they're tools writers use, reshape, and reinvent. This kind of research helps you realize that what you read, even if it's a classic, might not mean what you think. And if you're in the business of writing, or teaching, or just being a curious human, it's a gentle reminder that a single word in the hands of a master can explode into a whole personal universe. Last thing, and I'll say it until I'm blue in the face, these are insights, not commandments. Academic work is about opening doors, not sealing you in a room. Orekhov's findings give you a toolkit to read Tolstoy and really any author with fresh eyes, and maybe to look at your own language a bit more playfully too. So that's it for today's In-Depth with Academia. Thank you sincerely for spending your time here. I'm Richard Price, and remember, I'm just your neutral tour guide through the winding corridors of scholarship. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep those exclamation marks coming.